Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 71st episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests for this episode include guitarist J.J. French. Of course, you remember him from Twisted Sister. We'll be talking about his podcast, The French Connection. Brent Gleeson, who was a member of SEAL Team 5. He's got a brand new book we'll be talking about, Embrace the Suck. We'll also visit with comedian and actor, also author, Tommy Davidson, talking about the upcoming paperback release of Living in Color. And our final guest will be former runner-up on The Voice, Ricky Duran. We'll be talking about his upcoming new music and his latest single that was dropped, She Closed Her Eyes. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and of course share with your friends. Our first guest, you know him from Twisted Sister. Guitarist J.J. French will be talking about his new podcast, The French Connection. I know he's got some interesting stories, and, J.J. French, we're going to talk about his French podcast, and, maybe tell us something you might hear on the podcast.
I was at a party of a well-known plastic surgeon, some of my best friends, and I need them. And the guy says to me, the dude in the corner is his gastroenterologist. Why don't you talk? I said, I can't talk to the guy. The guy's not supposed to know that I know, right? It's patient, doctor. Like, why would he know I know? He goes, he knows who you are. Just go over. So I walk over to the guy. I go, so you Keith Richards' gastroenterologist. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I said, I'd like to ask you a question about Keith. He said, well, you can ask me anything you want, but you're not going to get an answer. And I went, well, maybe you will give me an answer. I said, I think I have a question that you will answer. And he goes, well, you can try me. And I said, here's the question. Are even you amazed? And he went, yes, actually, I am amazed. And I said, good, I'll leave it at that. And that was it. But I'm a huge Stones fan and have been for all these years. And now I'm celebrating my 48th, the Stones have been together for, 400 years? Twisted Sister celebrating 48th anniversary next week, actually.
And how crazy is that? I know we'll talk about the podcast as well, The French Connection, but to look back and see that 48 years has elapsed as part of just an iconic rock band you've been a part of.
Well, it's crazy because none of us think about this. Priest started in 73, AC/DC started in 73, Kiss, AC/DC, Sabbath prior to that. So do you think any of us thought so? None. I mean, no, really, because nobody thought that it would matter. And here we are 48 years later, and it does matter. And, when we got together, Nixon was president. It almost sounds like dinosaurs were roaming the earth, back in those days. But my podcast affords me the opportunity to talk to musicians, which is great because, a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviewers are not musicians. So while they approach the musicians as a fan, they can't approach the musician by knowing how they really feel. And I have the opportunity to interview some great people and really get into how they feel and have them tell us really good stories. And Mike Portnoy is a guest, currently up on my podcast, the J.J. French Connection, Beyond Music. Portnoy's up. Rob Halford from Judas Priest did an extraordinary interview with him. Dee Snider, my singer, that's starting today. Next week, I have a panel discussion with members of Def Leppard, Whitesnake, and Lynyrd Skynyrd, which is really going to be great because if you add up all the years of Def Leppard, Whitesnake, Twisted Sister, and Lynyrd Skynyrd, you got 190 freaking years of rock experience, which is terrifying. I mean, I need Oxy just to say those words. No, I mean, seriously, it's crazy to think that, but this is what my podcast allows me to do. I have a book coming out in June called Twisted Business, We're Not Going to Take It, and I get into the depths of the story of Twisted, and for people who really want to know, what it takes to really make it, because the fact is that Twisted Sister was turned down more times in a bedsheet in a whorehouse, and we've come back more times than Freddie Krueger. So, I discussed that in my book. Also, I'm a motivational speaker, and when I got the podcast, I called my daughter and I said, listen, I got a podcast. And she goes, Daddy, if you're going to get paid for talking, you may be the richest man on earth, ultimately. And I said, well, if you get paid for using a cell phone, you're going to be the second richest person on earth, so we'll see what happens. But I enjoy talking, not that you can tell by this interview.
Now, who is? Do you still find yourself getting fanboy around any artist? I mean, obviously you've been around them for so many years, but are there any of them that you still kind of get a little giddy about?
Not honestly, really, truthfully, no. I think the only person I would ever have trouble with would be Paul McCartney, because the Beatles are the reason why we're all here. That's end of story. I mean, they are. You want to talk about the musical equivalent of the Big Bang for all of us, and it's the Beatles. But I have a question I'd ask Paul because I haven't heard him answer it. So I do have. It wouldn't be the same stupid thing. It would be really coming from a different perspective. But I think for him, I think it would be, but Julian Lennon used to hang out with my drummer, A.J. Pirro. Back in 1983, Julian was following us around England, and he'd be in the dressing room, and he looked back then especially, he looked just like his dad. And he sounded just like his dad. I'm in the dressing room with him one day, and I look at him and I go, Julian, I have a real hard time talking to you because I just see your dad in you. I said, it's got to be weird. He goes, don't feel so bad. Keith Richards said he wouldn't be me for $1 million. So I felt a little bit better knowing that Keith thought that. But yeah, I very few. No, I'm at a certain age now, and we've accomplished so much. I mean, look, as an original member of the band, I go back 3 years prior to Dee and Eddie joining. I've done 9,000 shows, right? 9,000 shows. The fact that I have any hearing left is an astonishment, although my wife will tell you I have no hearing left. But I did 9,000 shows. We've sold about 20 million records. We have 36 gold and platinum albums from around the world in various countries. We're not going to take in I Want to Rock It, the two biggest songs in the history of licensing, for heavy metal. There are more movies. I mean, you hear the commercial every other day. It's in the commercials and the soundtrack. And we did that deliberately. Some artists don't do it. We said, these days there's so much traffic out there, the only way you're going to get heard is you take advantage of everything you can take advantage of. They're going to put you in movies, soundtracks, TV commercials, take advantage of it. So we do, to keep it relevant, and it's an incredible experience to have that as a background. And when the band retired in 2016, we did it at the top of our game. If there wasn't a pandemic, if there was no pandemic, we could easily be in Europe last summer playing to 100,000 people, easily. So that's a luxury. And so my podcast allows me to connect with these musicians who are still out there playing, Mike Portnoy, Rob Halford from Priest, Dee Snider, the guys from Whitesnake and Skinner and Def Leppard, Nuno Betancourt from Extreme, and so on and so forth. There'll be a lot of musicians on this thing, but it'll be from a musician's perspective. So hopefully when people hear my podcast, they'll have an inside listening to an intimate conversation.
That's good. And again, the podcast, The French Connection, the music business and beyond. Check it out anywhere you find your podcast. And JJ, been a big fan my entire life. You guys actually formed the year I was born, so I've been a huge fan my whole life. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a great holiday season, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy that I helped to deform your entire educational system. It's wonderful.
Our next guest, former member of SEAL Team 5, has a new book, Embrace the Suck, Brent Gleeson. First off, Brent, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Oh, thanks so much. It's an honor to be here.
Now, Embrace the Suck, this was not written in regards to 2020 in originality, but tell us where that comes from and how we can apply that to our everyday lives and those ups and downs we go through.
Yeah, it's quite interesting and ironic going into this project. I didn't realize 2020 would be what it has become. So selfishly, I think the timing is probably wonderful for the book. But the term Embrace the Suck, and the subtitle is The Navy SEAL Way to an Extraordinary Life. The term is obviously born in the military. We've definitely embraced that term within the Special Operations training pipeline, predominantly within the SEAL training pipeline. And the book itself kind of encapsulates what that phrase means, which it really means to be intentional in the fine art of comfort zone expansion into finding ways to use pain and suffering as a pathway to enlightenment and insightfulness, and mitigating distractions and temptation, reassessing your values, planning better, executing better, debriefing with yourself better so that you can be in a constant state of improvement, and doing all these things to live a more, fulfilling, meaningful, purpose-driven life where you meet or exceed more of the goals you set.
And for you, you've been through combat deployments all over the world in big, huge theaters of war. And the Embrace the Suck, how did that lend to your mentality and going into those missions, if you will?
Well, obviously, the SEAL training pipeline, I can explain that real quick, is where all of that begins. It's a total transformation for each person that comes in. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you're a star athlete, huge in academia, we've done tons of research on trying to identify the mental, cognitive, and physical attributes of students more likely to successfully navigate what is arguably the hardest training pipeline for special operations in the world. And it's well over a year with about an 85 to 90% failure rate. So as you can imagine, through that type of arduous journey, you're continually developing more grit, more mental fortitude, more resilience. And then eventually you have to take that, that mindset and those behavioral norms to the battlefield. When I went in, it was right before 9/11, so I didn't realize that I would become a wartime SEAL. I had a totally different vision of what my journey is. I thought it was going to be traveling the world and drinking Mai Tais in the Philippines. I didn't do any of that. But you realize it's a fascinating social experiment because you don't realize how well trained you are and how amazing that level of training is until you use it on the battlefield. And when you use it in a team setting with the people to your left and right, and everybody's looking out for the other person opposed to themselves, which creates this overlapping web of performance, which is really fascinating.
Now, in the world we live in today, Brent, it seems like you've got to be extremely careful in the negatives. And how do you web through that? Obviously, military and daily civilian life, totally different on that line of things. Am I correct?
Yes, and the book is obviously written to be a tool, and within the self-help genre for any person. It's not about teaching someone to be a CEO or teaching someone to be a combat special operator. It's about the mindset and the behavioral expectations and how to intentionally develop resilience and grit, just like you would develop any muscle, and really pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone so that you can find new opportunities. When people stay nestled within their comfort zone, all they find is mediocrity. And then they look back and they feel unfulfilled and they're pierced with regret. So it's about trying to really lean into the inevitable pain and suffering that comes with achieving better goals, basically.
And as you separated from the military, I mean, how was the transition process and how did the things that you learned as a part of Embracing the Suck help you prepare for that transition time?
It's a good question because the transition can be a complex and kind of tough journey for all of our military. My transition strategy was to have zero downtime. So I took the GMAT for graduate school and applied for my graduate MBA program before my last combat deployment. And so I got back, basically transitioned out, and 1 week after I left the Navy, I started my MBA program. It was a rapid speeding freight train hopping one together. And then I started my first business, the concepts of it in graduate school, and then launched it towards the end of grad school. So, and I haven't stopped since. So I always, tell the guys I mentor and things like that. So I mentor people into the program, and I oftentimes mentor operators who come out. And it's really goes back to the basics of having a good plan and executing that plan.
And Brent, how was your mentality different from the time that you went in? I mean, did you have any ideas of the opportunities of doing leadership training? I mean, was that even anywhere in your mentality going when you first went in?
Not even a little. When I did my undergrad at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, and then I actually worked as a financial analyst for a year. With no intention of joining the military, much less becoming a SEAL. I actually ended up following one of my SMU buddies on his journey to become a SEAL. And so that was sort of phase one. And then we didn't realize that we'd be going to war. Then we went to war. And then when I transitioned out, I went to grad school with no intention of becoming an entrepreneur. And then I became an entrepreneur. So I think over time I developed a thirst for calculated risk, I guess. And it's really, hard work breeds opportunity. We talk a lot about, you got to find your purpose or your passion and you got to find that right opportunity. But they're not just going to fall into your lap. You've got to bust your butt, work hard down a path that you chose that seems to be in line with what you want or with your values. And then other opportunities will arise. And it's just about trying to find the correct opportunities. Not just any opportunity, not every shining object, but the right ones. Yeah.
And Brent, for obviously we have ups and downs as well. And how do you apply what you've learned into the bad decisions that you made or the flops, if you will?
Sure. I mean, the first chapter in the book is called Pain as a Pathway. And it's really about trying to find ways to accept suffering, pain, adversity, stress, anxiety, basically 2020, and find the opportunity amidst the chaos. In Eastern cultures, they accept suffering as a imperative for this meandering path towards enlightenment and growth and development, whereas in the West, we typically try to avoid it. we try to seek pleasure and avoid pain, yet it still finds us. So we know it's going to find us. So when it does, it's kind of that lean in philosophy. Lean into it, accept it, take stock of your current situation, develop a plan, and keep moving forward.
That's right. And again, the new book, Embrace the Suck, the Navy SEAL Way to an Extraordinary Life. I just like the beginning of the title. That's my favorite part of it. We've got Brent Gleeson. I always want to make sure and let folks know where they can find not only more information about the book, but social media-wise, where they can keep up with you as well.
Sure, yeah. The book obviously is on all online retailers, and both regular and audio. And then I'm on Instagram. That's just Brent_Gleeson. That's Gleeson. I'm on LinkedIn as well and Twitter.
All right. Well, Brent, it's been great to visit with you this morning. Looking forward to spending some time with the book myself, and hope you have a great rest of your week and a happy holiday season as well.
You too, brother. Thanks so much. Happy holidays.
Up next, our friend Tommy Davidson, actor, comedian, and author, talking about the upcoming paperback release of Living in Color. First off, good to visit with you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What's up?
Now, Tommy, I know you mentioned before we came on, you did a little stand-up during the pandemic, but man, all in all, what has 2020 taught you about yourself, my friend?
You taught me that nothing is for sure, and we need each other more than ever, and that we can get through anything. Look at what happened over the last 4 years with the riots, stuff that happened to our race relations in this country, stuff that happened because of this pandemic and the people who lost their lives. We can get through anything, and we can get through it positively and loving each other, that's for sure, because, hey, it's Christmas, right?
That's right. That's right. And for you, the book Living in Color, when did you first have the idea to sit down and put pen to paper, my friend?
It was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, my sister called me and said, "Why don't you ever talk about our mother?" And in interviews or nothing, and I thought about that, and I was like, it was because I was ashamed. But that came from all the way back when I was a kid. I didn't need to do that anymore. So I decided I'm going to write a book about my mom and about my life so that people can see how colorblind the whole world is. That's why it's called Living in Color. Yeah, I was abandoned in the trash in 1966, was discovered there randomly by a white woman from Wyoming, a white couple from Wyoming, who took me in. I grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Laramie and Casper, Wyoming until I was 5, moved to Washington, D.C. during the riots, right after King got shot. And it didn't go well. The black kids kicked our ass. They were calling my brother and my sister white cracker and calling me white cracker lover. And I went to my mom. I said, "Why are they calling me white cracker lover? I like graham crackers." I had no idea I was black. See, because I saw us as like animals. I grew up in farms and, in the Midwest. So I'd see a cat, could be a brown cat, it would have a gray cat, white cat, black cat, or a colt would be born white and the mother could be brown, So I thought that's how we were. So my mom said, that's what people your color call people our color when they don't like them. It's like, well, what color is that? If you're black. I said, no, I'm brown. I learned my colors from the crayons. She said, yeah, but that's what we call it anyway. So then we moved out to the suburbs because it got so bad. And that's the first time I heard the N-word. And grown men were chasing me home. I could be on my bike and a whole pickup truck full of grown men jump out and start chasing me. Barely got away. People throwing stuff through our window. It was crazy. And they were calling me the N-word. So finally I asked my mother, who are these N's? We got to stay away from them. You know, they're not very good people. And that's when she said, well, you know, that's what people our color call people your color when they don't like them. I was like, well, what color are you? She said, we're white. I was like, no, you're not. You're like peach in the crayons. You know? And that was like the saddest day of my life. Okay, because I couldn't believe that people were so stupid. And how could I love these people so much that love me when I'm really supposed to hate them because of their color? And then I have the real color that I'm being told. And that's why the book got written.
And how is that raising, Tommy, maybe changed maybe your view of race as opposed to a white and a black thing? Well,
from that day on, I started to study it because I decided, well, let me see how the world got this way, you know, and they're just two different cultures, you know, and it seems like the problem is green, you know, and lack thereof, you know, and it gets red, black, yellow, and everybody in trouble. This seems to be a human race and not mankind at all. But we are all capable of the one thing that I got, which is love. I got a lot of love, you know, and a lot of love I saw flow out of my family. You know, all white people aren't the same. All black people aren't the same. All black people are not filled with hate and deceit and violence. All white people aren't filled with that. But the most important thing is that the people that make the world go around aren't like that. And I do believe that to be true. I got faith in mankind. You know, we're going to have to change that human race thing. And that's the difference. My teacher, what would I do without Miss Coleman and Miss Singer? They're white. What would I do without my coach, Mr. Williams? He's black. You know, what would I do without, you know, my agent or my math teacher? You know, they were Jewish. You know, what would I do? You know, what am I supposed to do here? What do I turn on everyone because they're different? You know, it's just like in Frankenstein. Like we're mad at the wrong thing. You know, they named the monster Frankenstein. You know what I mean? But it's the doctor that was crazy. You know, he dropped the bottle and still put the brain in. You know, the monster was actually good. First thing he wanted to do was pick flowers with a little girl. You know? So we've had it all wrong. And if we can all step forward with that, which we do step forward with that. And the world is the world. And it's an ism, not a wasm. Racism is an ism. Sexism is an ism. It's not a wasm. It's something that exists as we speak. But it doesn't mean that we can't live with it and can't flourish. Just like COVID-19, right? It exists, but we're living with it and we're flourishing with it, even though it's a problem.
That's right, and again, the memoir is going to be released for paperback. And Tommy, if folks want to find out more information about the paperback version and also everything you've got going on over the holiday season as well.
No, that's easy. Amazon, Walmart, Target is where you can find the book. You can also find it at Barnes & Nobles. I like the hardback. The hardback is really good, man. Also, and they're still left in the store, so like they're the collector's item. And then there's the voiceover version, you know, the audio book that I did, and it's available on Amazon as well. So there's a lot of ways to get to the book. My life is in there, meaning everybody that influenced me and got me to where I am today with the heart I have is in the book. And Christmas was always my favorite. You know why? Because everybody started acting like I did. Everybody started acting happy to see each other and happy to be with each other. And it only lasted like a day.
If we could only make it last longer, isn't that right, Tommy?
Yep.
Well, Tommy, always great to visit with you, my friend. I hope you have a very happy holiday season, and hopefully we can catch up in the new year.
You too, man. You too. Have a good holiday, okay?
You might remember him from The Voice, and now doing his own thing as well. Ricky Duran on the line with us, actually zooming in with us. I'm a radio guy, so I'm still getting used to the Zoom. But Ricky, good to visit with you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, brother.
Now, Ricky, what has 2020 been? Probably not what you expected after 2019, right?
No, it's been kind of a roller coaster because right after The Voice, things were picking up very quickly, and I had a bunch of tour dates booked throughout the country, really. And unfortunately, right when that was going to begin, I had a sold-out show in my hometown, 2,300 seats, and it was 2 weeks right before the pandemic began. So everything thereon was canceled. And it was definitely weird for me. I had to take a step back, and I thought, the best thing to do at this time is probably get in the studio and start recording all these songs that I've been writing for years, So I guess looking at it through a positive light, that was okay. I got a lot of material done, and I just released my first single, which I'm really excited about.
Did that make the sound a little better? Did that make it stop echoing for you?
Yeah, I don't hear it. No.
I saw all of a sudden your face went, oh. I saw the look of relief in your eyes. Still learning the Zoom thing, man, but it does allow us to connect face to face a little bit. But how technically savvy have you had to become this year because of the shutdown and the distance stuff?
It has been a total different ball game, like the whole live stream concerts. I was doing that for a while just from my phone, and I had like 2 phones going at the same time with Facebook and Instagram, and it was definitely a hurdle I had to get over. But I found that it actually probably has helped my performance skills, because it's kind of weird to not hear your audience after. Like you finish a song, there's no claps, there's no you can't really feel it out, but it made me kind of, take it in and be less awkward if there's like dead silence and like come up with things to say. So in that regard, I think it helped me out a little bit.
A little stage presence work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I have never done a live performance, obviously, like that, but I watched in the early going, and it's funny because in March when people were doing it, as opposed to a couple weeks ago doing it, night and day in that. So you got to take the positives out of this year, and obviously that's one of them. And how has your songwriting been affected this year because of being alone so much?
It's definitely accelerated, actually. That was one thing about when I stepped off The Voice, was how fast everything was moving. And it was almost a relief for like the first couple months. I was like, this could be a good thing. Things are moving so quickly. I can step back and finish these songs I've been working on. And I really got a chance to dive into my songwriting and just really produce some songs that I really am proud of. And I have an EP coming up. So all that stuff is already recorded over the last, I guess 6 months or so. But I think, it definitely helped my songwriting, because I haven't had this much free time in so long.
And now that you've had a year to look back at it, what truly did The Voice teach you? I mean, like I said, you've had time to reflect, quite a bit of time to reflect this year.
I think the biggest thing that it taught me was just to have confidence in myself, because I had never been on a stage that large before. I wasn't, before the show, I wasn't sure if I could command an audience with just my voice and my mic in hand. I had always had my guitar going, and it gave me the chance to really work a stage and realize that, I can perform on this big of a level of stage at, live performances like this. And unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to do that again because of the pandemic. I did have a live stream show here in Austin, Texas. That's where I'm staying at right now. That was last week. It's at a place called the Continental Club. And it was like, it's an iconic blues club. here in Austin. And we had a full production, multiple camera crew. The audio was great. And that was the first time I had been on a legitimate stage since last year on The Voice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it felt amazing. It felt great. It felt like it came right back. You know, I just loved that feeling.
Now, speaking of Austin, actually, the guy that does the intro music to the podcast, actually, Brandon Allen, there in Austin, one of my love to listen to that guy fingerpick, and so whenever I was doing the podcast, I was like, hey, dude, you got to come up with something for me. But I know the Austin music scene is unlike the music scene anywhere. Mm-hmm. And how much does that help you in kind of being multi-genre type of music that I know that you're inspired by?
So yeah, I mean, there's so many killer players here. And that's one of the reasons I moved here, was because, you know, I grew up listening to a bunch of blues musicians, and one of my favorites was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he's from Austin, Texas. He was from Austin, Texas. And it just had such a blues revival, but there's still a mix of rock and anything. You can find any type of genre of music down here. And I've been actually working with a handful of artists from town. One of them by the name of John Dees. He's actually a member of Gary Clark Jr.'s band. And working with him has been amazing and validating for me, you know, because I'm such a fan of Gary Clark, and the fact that his band member wants to work with me, and he's all over this EP that I recorded, by the way, is just really awesome for me.
And look, as 2020 has been what it has, how has your goal changed? Your goal setting changed going into 2021?
Good question, man. I think that, you know, my goal for 2021 is really to solidify and break away from just a voice singer, the singer on The Voice. I want to be, known as an artist, as a whole artist, as a songwriter. And that's really my goal. I hope to release this EP and gain some traction and gain some, validation as an artist.
And what part of your game have you worked on the most this year?
Original music, original songwriting. I think that's so important for artists. It's like you can be a cover artist, or you can have your own sound, have your own songwriting. And that's, I think, a huge separation, at least in my mind, from somebody who is remembered throughout the years versus somebody who had a great cover and it's amazing, but it's on a different par for me.
Now, I got the email, I believe it was last week, that they reached out to me, told me about the new single. And I was like, normally I go and I'll listen to the single and I'll listen to the entire single. Then I'll go back and listen a couple more times and be like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to him. She sent the email. I clicked on it, watched the video. I was like halfway through the first verse and was telling myself, okay, you got to wait and listen to the whole song before you request this. So I blown away by the vocals and the writing. Tell our listeners a little bit about the single that, let me see, pull up the name of the single. That She Closed Her Eyes, the name of it.
Yes. So, this song is very close to me. It's a personal song that I wrote shortly after my mom had passed away. Now, I guess it would be 2 years ago. And the writing process for this song was kind of unique because I was, you could imagine losing someone as close as I was with my mom. It was a very low moment for me. And, I've learned that when I'm low, I just usually pick up my guitar and just try to, kind of zone out for a minute. So I picked up my guitar. It must have been like a couple days after she passed away, and I just started strumming, and this song just came out. Like I started singing the first verse, lyrics, melody, and guitar all at the same time. So I, when that happens as a songwriter, it's kind of amazing because it's this like, oh my God moment that something just came to me. You know what I mean? Like it seems almost, from another place. So I had all the verses written without a chorus. And this was before I went on the show, The Voice. Then I went on The Voice and things started picking up and things were moving for me and everything seemed to be falling right in my lap and things were happening that were so amazing in my life. And I wrote, that's when I wrote the chorus because, up until then, the verses are kind of they're pretty down. They're pretty sad. They're about the loss. And I was missing a part in the song that was about, you know, yes, it's very sad to lose somebody, but also, you know, I felt like my mom was with me throughout my journey on The Voice, and I still feel that she is with me. And there's a strength in that. You know, there's a strength in knowing that she's watching over me, and almost I feel like she's guiding me along my journey. So that's what I decided to write the chorus about, and I'm glad I did, because the song gives an uplifting feel to it. You know.
Well, is that what you want to play for us today?
I could, if yes, sure.
I didn't know emotionally if you're like, I don't know if I will play that one or not, but it's up to you, man.
I could totally play that for you guys.
Well, I would love that. I would love that. Now, this one, so they started a year before going on The Voice and finished up on The Voice. How that one worked. So you've had a little bit of time between then and now. How was the production on this? Was the production done before or during pandemic time?
The production was done during pandemic time. I actually booked my studio time here in Austin at Arlen Studios, and that's where I recorded actually my entire EP. So I got in there with a full band. I got John Dees on keys, the keyboarder from Gary Clark Jr.'s band, and I actually put some lap steel on this song. I just felt like it was, I don't know, it was so perfect for it. And my songwriting has changed so much because, as you said before, I'm kind of multi-genre artist. It was kind of surprising how this song came out, and I was like, this is like pretty country, you know. It's definitely a country feel to this song, but I love it. So
you've been hanging around Austin too long, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Blake did something to me, I guess.
Well, if you want, I'll let you go ahead and play.
Okay, let me grab my guitar.
Yeah, that's cool.
How's it sound in there?
It sounds good. Sounds good.
Right. She closed her eyes, beautiful tired eyes, under the night sky, into the bright light, and I'm standing here with no fuel to run on. She closed her eyes. Yeah, mama closed her eyes. She gave me a hand, told me to love again, said, son, live the best life, a life that you can. I promised I'd try. I said, you don't have to worry. Then mama closed her eyes. Yeah, mama closed her eyes. Now the stars shine a path to find my way. 'Cause I got an angel watching over me. We carried her home so she could finally rest next to the man she loved, the man who knew her best. I said my goodbyes. I said you don't have to worry. Now mama, close your eyes. Yeah, mama, close your eyes. Now the stars shine, I had to find my way. 'Cause I got an angel watching over me. Oh yeah, yeah. Ooh, watching over me. closed her eyes. Beautiful tired eyes under the night sky, into the bright light. And I'm standing here with no fuel to run on. She closed her eyes. Yeah, mama closed her eyes.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That is good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, Ricky, if folks want to keep up with the new music coming out, social media, website, and obviously the tour dates, I know you're looking forward to those, right?
For sure. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Ricky Duran, Facebook at I am Ricky Duran, and Twitter the same, I am Ricky Duran. Also, my website that I just got up is iamrickyduran.com. I'm all over Spotify, iTunes. Please check me out. Check out the new song. Much appreciated.
And how is the first? How are the nerves, the butterflies, and also the adrenaline going to affect you the first time you get up in front of a live audience?
Whew. I mean, I think I had a taste of it last week with the live stream, but it is different. So there's, I always get the butterflies and nerves right before I take the stage. And I think that's a good thing. It kind of gets my blood flowing. And then it takes me about, usually a few notes to get confident on the stage. It's tough to just take it and just hit it like that with that confidence, but it's going to feel great. It's what I was, I grew up doing. So I just can't wait to get back on there on the stage.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on the stage as well, Ricky. And if you're ever around Southwest Oklahoma way, we'd love to catch up with you, my friend.
For sure. Hopefully I can head there and play some shows later 2021.
That sounds good. Well, Ricky, thank you for your time and for being on the show today, brother.
Thanks a lot for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us for this 71st episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, anything else you'd like to know, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. If you have a special guest idea, email me at gqwithcam@gmail.com. Thanks again to Brandon Allen for coming up with the theme music. We'll let him play us out as we end this Wednesday episode. Be back with us tomorrow for episode 72.